remember correctly, it had 25 problems and was to be solved in 3 hours. I think, and the problems increased in difficulty towards the end. So in the beginning, you just had straightforward print statements, and towards the end, you had dynamic programming and graphs and things like that. So it was fun solving the problems. They kept getting more and more challenging as the contest went on. I was able to solve all the problems, I think. So that's how I won. I think the contest went very smoothly and it was fun participating. In terms of preparation for HPE CodeWars last year, I've been doing competitive programming for quite a few years now. So I didn't do any specific preparation for that competition, but over like months of practice, I've become better at solving algorithmic problems, and that certainly helped a lot.
That's great. That's great. So when did you first start learning programming, and what inspired you to do
I think I started programming in Java to make Android apps, but nowadays, like most competitive programmers, I focus on C++. I got introduced to competitive programming through preparing for the Indian IOI selection process, which starts with ZCO, INOI, and then the CAM. That's when I started learning C++ and was introduced to all these algorithms and data structures which we use.
Okay. So, what would be your advice to a beginners who wants to participate in the competition, and they might have come into this competition hoping to test their skills? So, what should they do next if they are just beginners? And they could have like solved a couple of easy problems, but then face some more difficulties going forward. So, what will be your suggestion, Mohit?
So if you're able to solve easy problems, I assume you have some good control over the programming language you're using, usually C++, but Java and Python also work fairly well. If you're getting stuck on medium difficulty problems or hard difficulty problems, I suggest not giving up, first of all. If keep trying for some more time. If you still don't get it, look at the editorial of the problems. Most problems do have editorials nowadays, especially on major websites. And see if there's any new algorithm or idea that you hadn't seen before. So it could be, I don't know, say BFS or DFS or some graph algorithm or dynamic programming or some other technique which you haven't seen before. And look it up, look for tutorials. You can find tons of them online everywhere. And try solving related problems and become better at that technique. I also suggest as soon as you cross the beginner stage of being able to solve, say, one or two problems in a Codeforces contest, try building up your arsenal of like different techniques of data structures and algorithms. So learn about sorting, binary search, graphs, DFS, BFS, Dijkstra, trees, heaps, and so on. Sorry, I think you're muted.
So what are the resources that you found helpful in preparing for the coding competition?
So I started on a website called Common Launch. It was they had a competitive programming path, and I learned a lot through that. But nowadays, I think there's USACO Guide, which is relatively new, but it's extremely good. It's been made by some very talented programmers. Apart from that, you mostly learn by doing lots and lots of problems, say from Olympiads or from past Codeforces, Code Chef contests at Codel, and keep practicing more and more, because it doesn't matter how many algorithms you learn if you don't practice. It's very important, especially in this field.
Okay. Okay. So what are the tips and tricks that you follow to decode or debug a problem?
Um, So usually I try solving the problem on paper without actually coding, or if it's a really simple problem in my head at least. And only once you're pretty clear about how the structure of your program is going to be, only then start coding. That helps eliminate a lot of bugs and saves you a lot of time, because if you make a mistake on paper, it's much easier than having to rewrite your code all over again. I think that helps a lot, but inevitably you're always going to run into bugs when you code up your solution. Almost any problem of reasonable difficulty is really hard to get correct on your first try. So in that case, practice debugging by using print statements. I know there are debuggers for C++, Java, and Python, and so on. But in competitive programming, it's actually just easier to use print statements, and they can save you some time. If you really want to, you can write up a template for debugging and use that to debug your code. It helps. There's some tutorials on that on CodeForces, I think. And try to spot inconsistencies. For example, if you make some assumption about what's possible in the problem, and it turns out that's not true, you may have to rethink your approach. You can also catch those using, say, assert statements, which will crash your program if any of your assumptions fail.
Okay. So, like, who is your role model in the field of technology? Mohit, who is your role model?
I don't think I have one specific role model in the field of technology. One person who I find really interesting is Donald Knuth. He's almost, say, the father of algorithmic analysis. I think he's a professor in the US now, I'm not sure. He created like lots of interesting algorithms, and he spoke a lot about the art of programming. I think he even has a book by that name. He's also a Turing Award recipient, and also he created TeX, which is the precursor to LaTeX, which is used for most typesetting most math and sometimes programming documents.
Okay, that's great. So, like, what would be your message for those out there who are thinking about learning programming?
I think it's very important to get your hands on the programming and not just stick to reading and learning. It's so I see a lot of people say pick up a book on programming and don't use the computer to code anything until they finish the whole book, thinking that how am I going to code anything if I don't know everything about the language already in the book. But that's I think that's a really ineffective way of learning. You, especially in coding and almost everything else, you learn by doing, hence why practicing problems is so important in competitive programming. And in programming in general, you learn by building things. You don't learn by just reading and thinking about it. You learn by doing.
Okay. So, like, how did you hear about the HPE competition, CodeWars competition, and Code Battle Hackathon? So, what was your motivation to sign up for it?
We were told about the competition at school. I think HPE or Codingal had written to our school, and I like competitive programming, right? That's the main reason I do it, not because it's going to give me some sort of vague benefit in the future or anything like that. It's fun to do. That's why I do it. And so I thought, why not try the competition? And they ended up going pretty well.
Okay. So, like, how long did it take to prepare for the competition?
Specifically for HPE CodeWars, I'm not sure if I can give an answer because I didn't specifically do that. But to get to that stage, I'd say about 3 years or less.
Okay. Okay. So, like, how was it for you to perform in such a setting? In such a setting, like in CodeWars, HPE CodeWars.
It was fine. So by the time I wrote CodeWars, I'd already written a lot of contests. Most of them were in a similar format. So you're online, you can submit problems to an online judge. You can see the scoreboard and see your results immediately. So I'm used to participating in competitions like that somewhat. You can practice by doing
Please
it.
stop recording my video.
So, So yeah. So did you feel any anxiety kind of thing?
Uh, Especially when I began, yeah, I think it's always sometimes once you start a contest, your mind sometimes freezes. But I think usually when you read the problem, you kind of all that melts away and you're just focused on trying to get the answer to the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you mentally handle yourself and when you are behind in your game or competition?
Uh, I think it's important not to just focus on the result, just focus on the problems and the results will come. But sometimes, yeah, sometimes you feel like you're not doing as well as you should have. And in which case, I recommend just switching around problems, trying different things until you're back into the zone of just pure problem solving.
Okay. So was there anything that you thought you could have done better? Or, no?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think I should have practiced more, but I feel like that can apply to everyone. Specifically, I think I should have done more contests, especially in the last couple of years. I haven't been doing many live contests. I've been mostly been solving problems later on my own time, not in the middle of a contest. I think that helps in dealing with pressure and time management, and that's something I should have done more.
Okay. Okay. So were there any challenges you faced during the competition? Like any problematic uh, problems or you faced any kind of problems?
Uh, In HPE CodeWars, not really. I think I was used to solving such kind of problems, usually even harder problems than what came in the contest. So it was pretty straightforward then. I think I got wrong answer on one problem a couple of times, but we could fix that pretty soon.
Overall, it was going smoothly.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so do you want to say for these participants who are going to participate in HPE CodeWars 2022?
I think in 2022, the competition is of a very different format. It's a hackathon, I think. Not a competitive programming contest. So I don't have as much experience, especially with very long hackathons. I'm more used to short ones. But I think it'll help to plan out your project in advance and distribute work if it's a team competition.
Okay. No, no. Like here we have two tracks, Mohit, hackathon and code battle, both.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
for the hackathon, I guess, yeah, keep practicing. Don't worry too much during the contest. Worry before the contest, I think. Don't worry during the contest. Um, and remember not to feel disheartened if you don't get a problem. So move on to the next one. You can come back to ones you didn't solve later, especially during the contest. Before the contest, keep practicing. Uh, Try solving different kinds of problems. Don't always attempt problems which are on your level or slightly above your level. Don't waste your time solving problems which are too easy.
yeah, right. So, is everyone
Who is
any
the
doubt?
first winner?
Sorry.
So, is everyone any doubt? Please ask to Mohit.
I think a couple of people have raised their hands.
Please, yeah, Nishit, go ahead.
Who is the first winner?
Sorry, first winner of what?
Okay. Okay. So, okay, thank you very much, Mohit.
Mohit, Nishid has asked, like, what language did you should recommend?
If you already know a language, especially if it's Java or Python, you can continue using that. But if you don't know any language and you want to focus on competitive programming, pick C++. The resources for C++ in competitive programming are not matched by any other language.
Next question, Sanyam. What is the base language you recommend?
Yeah, C++. Someone asked me how long it took me to do all the questions. I think it was under 2 hours, and I don't remember correctly. Someone has also asked me about my words per minute. I'm not sure. It's probably around 70. It doesn't matter much though.
Who is the first winner in this Codingal competition?
Last year I was the winner.
No, and this year, who is the first winner in this Codingal competition?
I'm not sure.
The competition is happening right now. The winner will be announced on April 9th, and the hackathon has already started, which will end on March 30, and the virtual coding competition, which is a real-time competition, which will happen on April 9, 1 p.m. So there is no winner as of now for HPE CodeWars 2022.
So it will be announced on April 9th.
April 9, 4:30 p.m. There will be a virtual competition. So those who are here, let me clarify. This time HPE CodeWars 2022 has come up with 2 tracks. One is hackathon. In hackathon, you can participate as an individual or a team, maximum member of 3. And there will be virtual coding competition, which is known as HPE Code Battle, which will happen on April 9th at 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., 3 hours competition. And these are both different tracks actually. So HPE Code Battle will be a like 1-member competition. In HPE Hackathon, you can participate as a team also, like 1 team, but all must register for the competition. If you want to participate as a team, if you have not participated, all 3 members or 2 members, they have to register as a team. They both have to register with their different mobile number and different email ID. So Mohit, for the audience purpose, can you elaborate what is the difference between a hackathon and a virtual coding competition? That would help them actually.
So in a competitive programming contest, you're usually given a bunch of algorithmic problems, which means you need to solve some sort of problem efficiently so that the program runs fast and also without using too much memory. And usually these problems are quite hard. Sometimes they're made easy for beginners, but they're quite hard. And you need to apply a lot of known techniques to reduce the problem and also make some clever observations to make the solution simpler. And all this has to be done within a time limit. So the people who code up their solutions, their algorithms, their designs quickly and correctly get more points, and then the winner is decided based on that. In hackathons, you're given some time window and usually a topic, and you're asked to come up with an app or website or something like that and build it from scratch in that time. And based on your results, what you end up with, how good your app is, a panel of judges will probably decide who wins.
Okay, one question from Nikhil. If I have done solo, I want to switch to team. Is there any way I can? Okay. Okay. So is there any questions, everyone? Yeah.
So I assume by coding battles, you mean like competitive programming competitions and not hackathons. For that, usually you can check Code Forces because that's the most popular website, and most people, if they have a contest upcoming, they post a blog there. Or you can check this website called list.by, I think, that has a lot of upcoming contests for everything.
Thank you very much, Mohit, taking your time and join with us. And
Sure, thank you for having me.
And I'm sure the things that you have shared with our participants today have been incredible and invaluable. So, and if somebody is aspiring to be a competitive program in the future, then these tips and tricks will be helping them a lot. So, thanks to everyone else for taking your time and join with us. Thank you, everyone, and have a great evening ahead. Thank you, Mohit. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Sorry if I couldn't answer any of your questions. I might have missed some in the chat. Thank you, Codingal, for having me, and good luck to all the participants for Code Wars this year.
Thank you so much.